My name is Emily Foster. I'm 27, and for as long as I can remember, family dinners have been sacred. A chaos of laughter, arguing over who left the lights on, the smell of my mom's pot roast filling every corner of the house. Growing up, I believed family was the anchor. Love, I thought, was the same, steady, patient, mutual. I never imagined that the very people I trusted could be the ones to reveal the cracks in the man I loved. I had been with Ryan Wright for 11 months, living together for 6. On the surface, it was a normal relationship. He was charming, successful in software development, and I thrived in my pharmaceutical sales career. But there were always subtle things, tiny dismissals, microaggressions, that I brushed aside, telling myself it was just his personality. I should have known. Sunday dinners at my parents' house were non-negotiable in our family. My older sister, Hannah, who was 7 months pregnant, her husband, and their 3-year-old son were always there. Sometimes my aunt and uncle joined, adding to the joyful chaos. Hannah had given up her teaching career when her first child was born, a choice made after careful consideration. Daycare costs, stress, the commute. She was raising children with thought and love, volunteering in the community, supporting our family in countless unseen ways. But to Ryan, none of that mattered. That evening, Ryan had been unusually quiet. He scrolled through his phone repeatedly, barely engaging in conversation. I noticed my chest tightening, but I said nothing. I should have. When Hannah excitedly shared her nursery plans with our mom, color palettes, furniture arrangements, Ryan let out an audible sigh. "Something wrong?" my mom asked gently. "No, just, is this all we're going to talk about? Baby stuff?" he muttered. Hannah laughed nervously, trying to ease the tension. "Sorry, I know I've been a little boring lately." "You're not boring," Ryan said, leaning back, his eyes cold. "You're just limited. Your whole personality is being pregnant and staying home. Don't you want to actually do something with your life?" The room froze. My brother-in-law's fork hovered midair. My dad's jaw tightened. My mom looked as if someone had slapped her. My own heart pounded against my ribs. "That's doing something," Hannah said carefully, her voice small. Ryan laughed, a cruel, hollow sound that sent a chill through me. "Oh, come on. Let's be adults here. Your wife is just a loser stay-at-home mom, not a real job. She's basically a parasite living off your paycheck while the rest of us actually work for a living." I could see the tears forming in Hannah's eyes. She had spent her life nurturing children, volunteering at the library, helping grandma with medical appointments, organizing church fundraisers that paid for playgrounds. Yet here was Ryan, erasing every effort, every sacrifice, with one cruel sentence. "Interesting take," I said flatly, my voice barely above a whisper, but enough to puncture the tension. My brother-in-law stood silently, took Hannah's hand, lifted their son from his high chair, and walked toward the door. The soft click of the front door closing was deafening. Ryan looked around, confused. "What? I'm just being honest. Someone needed to say it." "No," my dad said quietly, each word deliberate. Nobody needed to say it. I felt the weight of the moment settle in. My family was reeling, and yet somehow I was the one torn between loyalty and disbelief. I had to choose. "Get your purse. Get out of my parents' house," I said, my voice steady, despite the chaos in my mind. "Now." She blinked. Wait, no, Ryan blinked, confused, incredulous. "Excuse me? Seriously? You're taking their side?" "Yes. You just called a pregnant woman a parasite because she chose to raise her kids. You've shown us exactly who you are." The ride home was silent. Ryan tried to talk, to rationalize, to justify. "Everyone's overreacting. It's just a comment," he said. But every word felt like a hammer against my patience. When we finally got to our apartment, he turned to me, eyes wide. "Okay, fine. I'll text her an apology right now." I shook my head. Don't call. Don't text. You can't buy your way back into my family's trust." "Why? It was just one comment, one honest opinion," he insisted, his voice rising. "One comment?" I asked, my hands trembling. "You called my sister a parasite. That's not a comment. That's a glimpse into who you are, and I'm finally seeing it." He stared at me for a long moment, a mix of disbelief and indignation. "You're being insane." "My opinion isn't insane. It's truth." I let out a long breath, my mind racing with a clarity I hadn't felt before. "No, Ryan, your opinion is cruel, and you're banned from every family event until you understand that." He laughed, but it was sharp, venomous. "You can't ban me from your family. Watch me. I didn't argue. I just watched him realize, perhaps too late, that this wasn't about being right. It was about showing exactly who he was. And I saw it. I really did. In that moment, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief that my family would be safe from his cruelty. Dread that I had loved someone capable of this level of contempt. I went to bed that night thinking, this is the first crack in the mask. The first glimpse of the man I thought I knew. And perhaps the last chance to save myself from a relationship built on arrogance and cruelty. The next morning, our apartment felt colder, almost empty. Ryan sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the floor as if the world had personally wronged him. I poured coffee, trying to keep my hands from trembling. Emily, everyone's overreacting, he started, his voice low, but with that familiar edge of superiority that always made my skin crawl. I told the truth. It's your family being sensitive. Your sister is fine. She's just offended because she knows I'm right. I laughed bitterly. Right. You're right that someone who chooses to raise her children, volunteer, and manage an entire household is a parasite. That's comforting. Ryan tilted his head, feigning confusion. You're twisting my words. I'm just honest. If your family can't handle honesty, that's on them, not me. Ted. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. Honesty? Ryan, you humiliated my sister. You disrespected my family. You revealed exactly who you are, and you think that's just honesty. He shrugged. Fine, if that's how you want to see it. But I'm not apologizing for having standards. I can't fix their insecurities. My stomach twisted. This was the first time I really saw how deep his arrogance ran. It wasn't just a personality quirk. It was a defining feature, and it was toxic. By Monday, the consequences of that dinner became crystal clear. My parents called. Ryan wasn't welcome at Mom's birthday lunch, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or the baby's baptism. Hannah's husband added firmly that Ryan couldn't visit the hospital when the baby arrived. When I told him, he looked incredulous, almost mocking. They can't do that. I'm your boyfriend. I have a right to be there. They're overreacting. No, I said quietly, my voice firmer than I expected. You're overreacting. You chose to insult my sister, humiliate her, and antagonize my family. You burned that bridge yourself. He leaned back, his face darkening. This is insane. You're isolating me. Everyone's ganging up on me. I did nothing wrong. You're being emotional, irrational. This is abuse. I froze. The word abuse hitting like a punch. I had to remind myself this wasn't emotional manipulation. This was the truth of his nature, revealed in stark relief. He blamed others, never took responsibility, and treated empathy as weakness. By Tuesday, things escalated further. Ryan found out about Mom's birthday lunch through Instagram. He called, practically shouting, "You're excluding me? You can't just decide I'm not invited." You excluded yourself, I said calmly, by being cruel, by insulting people who love you, by showing your true colors. That's your choice. He tried every tactic he could imagine. Softened, tearful pleas, promises to text apologies, even a ridiculous attempt to justify himself. I work hard too, Emily. Why should my career be dismissed? I bit back a laugh, the surreal nature of it all, making my head spin. Ryan, we're not debating your career. We're talking about the cruelty you displayed to my family. You can work 100 hours a week, and it doesn't excuse being cruel to the people I love. Wednesday, he escalated again. This time, social media became his battlefield. Vague posts attacking lazy people who hide behind children and financial dependence. Mutual friends started reaching out, confused and disturbed. I could see it now. He wasn't just defensive, he was vindictive, obsessed with proving himself right at everyone else's expense. By Thursday, he had stalked past Hannah's house twice. My sister-in-law called me, panic in her voice. Emily, he drove by, twice. I don't know what to do. I felt sick. Ryan wasn't just arrogant. He was escalating, refusing to respect boundaries, and expecting everyone else to bend to his ego. By the end of that week, it was clear. I was in a relationship with someone who didn't care about empathy, boundaries, or the feelings of those I loved. Every argument, every post, every manipulative tactic revealed a pattern I couldn't ignore. I sat on our couch late that night, staring at the city lights outside, and for the first time, felt an unsteady mix of dread and clarity. The man I thought I knew, the man I loved, was not the person I had believed. And now I had a choice. Keep loving him or finally face the truth. By the third week after the Sunday dinner, our apartment had become a battleground of words, cold silences, and simmering tension. Ryan, once charming, had revealed his true colors: arrogance, contempt for others, and an obsessive need to be right, no matter the cost. He sat across from me one evening, arms folded, a smug expression plastered across his face. "Emily, you're blowing this out of proportion. My sister-in-law, your family, they're all overreacting. I told the truth, and you're letting them poison you against me." I felt a surge of disbelief. Truth? Ryan, calling my pregnant sister a parasite, mocking her choices, insulting everyone who's ever sacrificed for their family? That's not truth. That's cruelty. He leaned back, sighing dramatically. "You're being emotional. It's always about feelings with you. Why can't people handle honesty? I'm just pointing out the facts." "Facts?" I echoed, my voice trembling with anger. "Let me remind you of the facts. You humiliated a woman carrying her first child. You disrespected my parents, my brother-in-law, and my nephew. You've stalked my sister's house, posted attacks online, and tried to manipulate me into defending your behavior. And somehow you call that honesty?" Ryan shook his head as if I were the irrational one. "You don't get it. You've been brainwashed by your family. They're controlling you. I'm the only one here seeing reality." The words cut deeper than any insult he'd thrown at Hannah. Reality, his reality, was warped. I realized then that his arrogance wasn't just pride. It was a lens that distorted everything he touched, bending truth to his ego. He tried bargaining next, his voice suddenly soft. "Emily, I'll apologize. I'll write a letter. I'll go volunteer. I'll do anything to make this right. Just don't throw us away over one dinner." I laughed bitterly, the sound echoing in the empty apartment. "One dinner? Ryan, this isn't about one dinner. It's about a pattern. Every time you can't handle being wrong, every time you need to prove yourself superior, this is who you become. You haven't apologized. You've only offered to lie to manipulate my family into accepting you back." His eyes flickered, but quickly hardened. "Fine, so I'm willing to compromise. Can't you meet me halfway?" I shook my head slowly, clarity settling in my chest. Compromise isn't lying, Ryan. Compromise isn't stalking, posting passive-aggressive attacks online, or blaming everyone else for your cruelty. There is no middle ground between calling my sister a parasite and respecting her as a human being. You showed me who you are. He tried anger next, voice rising, face red. "You're overreacting. Everyone's against me. You're isolating me from your family. This is abusive." I felt a strange mixture of pity and disgust. "No, Ryan, you are revealing your nature. I'm just finally seeing it clearly. And I refuse to compromise my family's safety or my own integrity to accommodate your ego." He stared at me, dumbfounded. The mask of charm he had worn for months was gone. The man in front of me was unrecognizable. Every moment of arrogance, manipulation, and disdain had led to this. For the first time, I allowed myself to detach emotionally. I realized I wasn't just angry. I was free. Free to see the truth without excuses, without rationalizations, without love blinding me. I could love someone who respected me, respected my family, and respected humanity. Ryan did not. That night, I sat alone, listening to the city hum outside our window, and I knew something profound. This relationship, which had begun with laughter and warmth, had ended with the revelation of a man who measured everyone's worth in status, paychecks, and control. I had seen his true colors, and there was no going back. The following week, the tension that had been simmering for months finally reached a boiling point. Ryan returned from work one evening, placing his briefcase on the counter with an exaggerated sigh. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, voice low but insistent. "I've been thinking. I'm willing to apologize if it means we can fix this. I don't want to lose us." I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt a wave of clarity wash over me. This wasn't an apology, it was a negotiation, a transaction, a way to manipulate me into excusing his cruelty. "You don't get it, Ryan," I said, my voice steady. "Apologizing to save a relationship isn't an apology, it's lying. And I don't lie to my family. I don't lie to myself. I don't compromise my values for someone who can't see what they've done wrong." He stepped closer, trying to soften his tone. "Emily, please, I can change. I can—" "You can't," I interrupted, shaking my head. "Not because you don't want to, but because this isn't about one dinner, one argument, or one mistake. This is who you are. You blame others, you justify cruelty, you measure people by what they provide, and you manipulate to get what you want. I've seen the pattern, and I refuse to be part of it. For a moment, the man I had loved, the man I had trusted, looked small, stripped of his arrogance. And then, as if realizing the fight was over, he simply nodded, anger and disbelief mingling in his expression. I don't know what to say, he muttered. You don't need to say anything, I replied, my chest feeling lighter with every word. I need to say goodbye. I need to reclaim my life, my family, and Chaimaam. That night, Ryan packed his things. 2 suitcases, a duffel bag, and the remnants of a relationship that had promised love but delivered manipulation. He left quietly, without a fight. I didn't follow him. I didn't plead. I just closed the door behind him, finally feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. In the days that followed, life settled into a new rhythm. I returned to Sunday dinners without fear of humiliation, watched my sister thrive with her newborn, and witnessed my nephew's pure joy as he adored his baby sister. My family's laughter filled the house again, and for the first time in months, I felt safe. Ryan tried one last time to contact me, sending a text from an unknown number. You chose your family over me. I hope you're happy. You'll never find someone who measures up to me. I stared at it for a moment, then deleted it. My reply didn't matter. His ego had already imprisoned him, and I had no desire to enter that cage. The apartment felt emptier, yes, but in that emptiness, there was freedom. Furniture rearranged, schedules regained, laughter returned, and as I held my niece for the first time, feeling her tiny fingers curl around mine, I realized something profound. Love isn't about being right. It's about respect. It's about empathy. It's about seeing the humanity in the people around you. I had loved someone who couldn't offer that, but now I love myself enough to walk away, and that, more than anything, mattered. Weeks had passed since Ryan moved out, and with every quiet morning, every laughter-filled Sunday dinner, I felt a clarity I hadn't known I needed. My apartment, though less furnished, felt lighter, freer. The tension that had shadowed my life for months had lifted. I watched my sister Hannah with her newborn, her face glowing despite the sleepless nights. My nephew proudly showed me every scribble he had drawn for his baby sister, oblivious to the chaos that had once threatened their peace. And in those moments, I understood. My family's love, their values, and their unwavering support were far more important than any relationship built on manipulation, cruelty, or ego. I reflected on Ryan, the man I thought I knew. He had been charming, clever, and persuasive, but underneath it all was arrogance and contempt, a relentless need to measure worth by status and power. I had loved him, and in doing so, I had ignored the subtle signs of his toxicity. But I hadn't made excuses. I hadn't compromised my values. I had finally seen him for who he truly was and walked away before the damage could go deeper. People would probably say I overreacted, that relationships require compromise. But here's what I learned. You don't compromise on respect. You don't compromise on basic human decency. You don't compromise when someone shows you who they are. Believe them the first time. I had chosen my family, my peace, and my values over a man who could not see the humanity in those I loved. And in doing so, I found a new strength in myself, a courage I hadn't realized I possessed. Life moved forward. I still went to Sunday dinners. I still laughed with my family. I watched my sister's baby grow, and I reveled in the simple joys that Ryan could never understand. I was no longer afraid of what he might say, what he might do, or how he might try to manipulate me. The shadow of his presence was gone, replaced by clarity, love, and self-respect. I am Emily Foster. I am 29, and I know now that love is not about enduring cruelty. Love is about choosing respect, empathy, and integrity. Ryan showed me who he was, and I believed him, immediately. The rest is mine to live, unburdened, unafraid, and free.